Tials.world. She is launching her NFT collection in the next few days, or if you're watching this, you probably are seeing her NFTs on OpenSea. So let's just start out about with your background, Stephanie. What's your background in fashion, and what led you pivot into Web3?
Hi, well, thanks. First of all, thank you for having me. I am so excited to be here. And yeah, I think in terms of Web3, like I got into Web3 like over a year ago. But before that, I've been in the fashion industry for, I would say, like almost 15 years.
Wow.
So I basically started a jewelry brand, and then after that jewelry brand, I pivoted into a sustainable fashion brand, which is still the brand that we have today, called This Is a Love Song. But I think at the beginning of that journey, I just didn't really envision what that would really look like, and I definitely did not expect, coming into Web3, even if you had told me like a year and a half ago, oh, you're going to be launching an NFT collection, I'd be like, that is crazy. So it's been a very interesting journey, because starting with the brand, I always knew that I wanted it to be a sustainable and ethically made fashion brand. I just didn't want to create clothing that would be at the expense of others. So that was always the core of the brand. So that's why we, are made in Bali, where I'm from, and, everything is ethically made and supports the local community. But eventually, what happened was I also felt like, always engaging with physical products and creating physical products, I can't scale sustainability. And that was always been one of the missions at the beginning of, this brand. And, don't get me wrong, I love our brand. We've been worn by Rihanna. It's opened up so many amazing doors. I think she still follows us on Instagram too. But I think, I started it in my early 20s, and I really also changed and evolved a lot as a person. And, the brand really was the door that opened, Tials Studio, which is our own studio in Bali that does all ethical production, which is a utility of Tials.world, and, our fashion school. And, my mission is really to help make fashion more fair, ethical, and sustainable. So yeah, what happened was with Web3, I had a light bulb moment where I was like, wow, I can really take all of my Web2 missions and combine them under one roof, and be able to scale sustainability. So I guess we'll get into that. But that's really the short version of this story, how things kind of, amalgamated, if I said that word right, but
yes,
what
you said it. Yes, it's amalgamation of your mission. And I think it's similar to Violet Verse. Violet Verse was Violet Summer Zine, and it was a print issue. And then we did digital, and I really wanted to put everything under one house. And for everyone who's watching, Tials.world stands for This Is a Love Story. That's what Tials.world stands for. And I was like, oh my gosh, I love how you kind of took your original Web2 brand and really just ushered it into Web3. So, when we talk about Web2 audiences, a lot of times it's it might not be the same audience. Who's your target audience for this NFT collection? And are they different? Do you think they're different from this fashion brand NFT collection, Discord audience you're curating now?
Yeah, I think that is a really good question, and something that at the beginning I had no idea going in. I was like, let's just kind of see, obviously we have our Web2 audience. And I think when we started building, which was, I think it was April, we're babies, but it feels like forever, obviously, in the Web3 world. But we were really trying to educate our Web2 audience, to go into digital fashion, because digital fashion, it actually it can produce 97% less carbon than a physical product. And that truly makes it more sustainable, right? So we knew all of this, and we wanted to educate our existing audience. That was one of the missions, to onboard them. But of course, as you know, with everything that's been going on a little bit, I think people were a little bit oh, well, but we, thankfully we have that audience, and some have trickled. Definitely not all.
Yes.
Same thing about it. Yeah, right? I don't know. but we keep going because we believe in it so much. It's fine, and people will. I feel like it's one of those things that you can compare to, a few years back, people are like, oh, Instagram, like I'm not going to do that. Like I don't need social media, or like e-com, like people are not going to shop online. Like, but people ended up doing that, right? So I feel it's the same kind of vibe. But thankfully, people have shown up from Web3 because everybody loves fashion. So our target audience are really people that want to express themselves, whether it's through their own designs or through being like a fashion supporter, fashionista. Like everybody's always kind of expressing themselves daily with their fashion choices. So I feel like fashion, it's something that everybody can relate to.
Yep.
So that's why Tials.world is not just a brand with an NFT collection. It's a hub where, people that love fashion or are in the fashion industry, whether you're from Web 2 or Web 3, can connect in this hub. So it's really cool seeing the audiences merge. And, we have the fashion school, so our students are in there as well. And like, it's great for them because one of the utilities is that they can get funding and they can get all these amazing support and also learn about Web3, right? Because eventually, I feel like all brands should have some kind of Web3 strategy, and this is an amazing way for them to get their feet wet. So it's really like a cool place where everybody can hang out. And I've had clients from Tile Studio join because they want discounted manufacturing and lowered MOQs. So it's a bit of everyone. But of course, the Web3 community are the community members that are the most active because they're, in the Discord, like they're already used to it. And I'm just so like, it's so fun, like getting to know, your new audience and kind of building along with them. And I think that's obviously one of the cool things about Web3, right? Which you can build together. Mm-hmm. As opposed to Web2, it's just you, the business, and then your audience, and kind of that's. And so it's fun.
I love that, and you're early. You're going to be the blueprint. Congratulations on being featured in all these different mainstream publications that are traditional, because they are looking to you and saying like, oh my gosh, let's see what she does first. So you are the case study, and that's the thing that makes us like the digital frontier. Like, not even digital, it's blockchain frontier, and that's something that like really like drew me into the TikTok account. And that's how we met, was through TikTok, because I saw you doing a lot of the behind the scenes and talking about Tials.world and talking about the education, because that's a part of the job that comes with being early, like educating, so you can bring more people on. And I guess to that extent, before we get into like the types of NFTs, like what fascinates you about like crypto and blockchain and Web3?
I think decentralization and like ownership, especially when it comes back to fashion. Like I've had my designs ripped off, like when I was like still starting out, like,
really?
And it happens a lot in the industry, as a creative. I mean, especially now, like people get inspiration. Sometimes they borrow too much inspiration. And what really is unfortunate when you're, like maybe starting out, you're a small business owner, designer, and you put something out and then seeing, a big company just rip off your designs. It happens a lot. And I think what's really cool with NFTs is being able to verify ownership. And then also as a creative, you can get royalties, forever for your work. And, for us specifically, like what really drew me in was being able to involve the garment makers in some of the items that will have the physical products attached to it, which obviously can change the game, right? Because, essentially garment makers, they only get paid once, that's it. Yeah. But if they can be involved for the items that they actually produce, which later down the line, some of our collection, the PFP collection will have physical items attached to it. So digital experiences, you can get either digital or physical, or if you're lucky, you can get both. So for the physical ones, we want to involve them, which of course means, they're going to learn how to use it, right? So it's giving them more ownership, more freedom. And so that really was what drew me in. I mean, essentially, it drew me into crypto before Web3. I was like, kind of like reading the charts. I was leading a double life. Like at night, I'm like watching YouTube, like be going into
we all were. Yeah. That's how it is when you're going down a crypto rabbit hole. It's like up nonstop. Like, what else can I learn? What's going on with Twitter? Like,
exactly. And eventually led me to NFTs, but that was like later on. So and essentially I read this book called Cryptocurrency Explained by this guy named Dr. Julian Cost, and I just loved how he broke it down. And it's really just giving the power back to the people, right? And so that, I think, was the core. And I don't know, that when the light bulb moment clicked, I was like, oh my God, I have to go in. I have to do this now. Like now or I guess later, but later, like you said, it's not that it's too late, but it is actually a good time to show up and experiment with it the earlier possible.
I'm getting chills because I think that's like the through line with a lot of women in Web3. It's like once that light bulb moment clicks, like you're in it, and it's like you can't tell like your family or like some of my best friends, like they might not be in it, but like once you get it, it's like you just go down the rabbit hole and you try, and you just know that this is going to be the next big thing. It is, because it is Web3, and that's where our world is going. And I wanted to ask you, because I actually have a background in fashion, and I worked at a luxury dry cleaning company. So I worked with a lot of garment makers, and I saw like so much hard work going into that. So can you back up or maybe tell us about the different levels of NFT passports that you're going to have a part of Tials.world, and like how that all like intersects with the creators, the garment makers?
Oh yes, definitely. That's definitely my favorite part of the project. So we want people to be involved, not just the garment makers, but the NFT holders. And so the way that I saw of how to scale sustainability is, of course, like everyone can get involved and have equal opportunities from the garment makers, but also the NFT holders. You have the opportunity to co-create on this garment. So when you have the NFT, it will unlock a digital experience. So if you have the physical, element to it, you can then choose the print that's in the NFT and then choose from a list. I guess we're going to have like 10 different options. Again, this is not set in stone how many options, because we have so many designs, but there's going to be a good like handful where you can then choose like, okay, I want to print this on the sweater, or maybe I want a dress, right? So then it gets redeemed. So because it's on demand, it's going to be made then once you redeem it. So of course it will minimize all of the waste, which is a huge problem in the fashion industry, right? Yeah. And what's even cooler is like once you redeem it, it's the physical design. Then we have a long list of retailers where our brand sells in. And so, for example, you could submit the design and like, hey, I want to put this, like in the online store, or, like I want to put this design for the wholesale, because we do a lot of wholesale. Okay. So then if it gets sold in our retailers, because it's your design essentially, then you can get royalties. So that's where, the equal opportunities, the fair distribution, like, of course, it's hard to make everything very balanced, but that's what we want in the future. That's our goal. So everybody can get involved. And I think that's one of the things that is my favorite part of the PFP collection. And the PFP collection will launch later on, because right now we're focusing on the membership NFT. And the membership NFT is needed to basically, mint or get access to the PFP designer collection later. And also because we're taking things digitally, we're going to do more collections like NFT collections, where if you're in the community and you're a designer, you can actually become the designer for the next collections. Wow. So, there's a lot of different opportunities and ways that you can participate. And it just depends on how you want to participate, because some people are busy, some people just want to wear something, right? Some people actually want to explore their creativity. So we hope to really present all of that, so everybody can kind of have fun and, grow in this Web3 space together. Because yeah, it's like, I remember last year when I was doing my own research, like it felt lonely. But I am the type of person, like I love getting into a rabbit hole, but there's so many people that are like, well, that's overwhelming, I don't even want to do it.
Right.
So if you have a space where you feel safe and you feel like, okay, I can relate to other people, learning about this as well, then that makes it more motivating, right? So
yep.
I'm really, really excited.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think like a lot of people think that crypto or Web3 is like a lot online, but it's really about the meetups, the conferences. The women in Web3 community is so tight, not just on TikTok, but it's like we're probably like maybe 20% of the industry right now. And the crypto industry is so small. So that's like, it's like we're 1 degree, 2 degrees separated. So it's nice to like go into different discords and know each other, or to talk to each other on TikTok and with our little like friends only videos. So I love that aspect of it. And I also love that, people want choices right now. And I think that's one thing with like, I'm going to get a little bit, like horoscopy, but like we're in the age of Aquarian, so we want to like experience our creativity side. And I find that a lot of women, or just people in general, they don't know where to start with their creative when they want to be creative. So you giving them that avenue to like express themselves, whether they buy this NFT and go through this path or this workflow, I think that's like really innovative, especially within the fashion industry that's been like feeding us things, and then we just have no choice but to buy it or shop at a thrift store, which is still good. That's still sustainable. I guess like my next like question is like sustainability, right? Because it's like that's like a huge part of where the fashion industry is going. And how did you see that change and shift throughout your 15 years in fashion? And like what is your like vision with like sustainability right now?
Oh, that's a cool question. I think like it's changed a lot, because when I started, there was like, as a brand owner and like I'm designing a collection, there just wasn't a lot of sustainable fabric options or eco-friendly trim. So it's really cool that now there's so many options to make your brand more sustainable. There's even, a lot more ethical manufacturers. At the time, I couldn't find one. That's why I started my own. And thankfully, I was able to, like, after a few seasons. So, like a lot is available now. So it is very, very cool. Like if anybody now wants to start a brand, it's definitely much easier and making it more sustainable as well, because there's also so many resources online. There's, YouTube, we have our fashion school, but there's so many other ones as well. So I think it's changed a lot. And I think, with the online world, with all of these like sustainability, like accounts, like on Instagram, YouTube, it's very easy to learn and dive in and to get into that rabbit hole as well. Mm-hmm. So for me, I think it was just more like, I naturally felt like, well, I guess because I was making the brand, before I made the brand, there was a disconnect, because it was like, I go into a store, I was also like younger, at the time, like from fresh off like school, and like all you can think about is like, oh, I want an outfit for the weekend and I want it cheap, right? Like right. You just didn't really think about it. But I think like having my brand and seeing all that work that goes into it, and then also the faces behind these brands, it's like, oh, there's real people. And like if you're buying a top for $6, how does that person get paid, right? Or like right. Then you start questioning and you're like, oh my God, wow, like I've made all of these choices in my life, and I'm like, hold up, like this is not right. And I think again, that was like an aha moment as well. Right. But I feel like, yeah, like consumers, the average consumer, you don't really think about those things. You think about the price point, because obviously that's very personal to everybody, right? Right. But I think as soon as you know and you're like, well, that doesn't make sense, it costs a little bit more than my coffee, huh? Right? Like that's when you realize that, okay, like I need to be mindful of my choices. I need to be mindful of my consumption. Like, how can I consume less but better, right? And like, do we all like need to have, let's say, one like outfit for the weekend that you only wear once, for example, right? And I think this is where like it's very interesting to have digital fashion, like with the augmented reality. Like I've had an outfit that I wore for Instagram and it was a digital outfit, so I just wore it for that post. That's it. That's cool, right? Instead of buying like a physical outfit.
Yeah.
And you know, people do buy stuff to just wear once. Maybe it's for an event, or some people even do it just for social media. And all of these things, like if you don't think about the actual repercussions that are happening, it's like we have to consume less. And so for me, sustainability is like a lifestyle, but I'm not going to say like, oh, I don't buy socks from H&M. I am not like, you know, one of those sustainability warriors that are like, oh, you can't do this. No, I think everybody should make their own choices that, you know, fits their life. So even for me, like I buy socks at H&M because they make good socks. But will I go and how I used to do it when I was younger, like just raid the whole store because it's cheap and it's like, oh, I can get, you know, a lot more now. Of course, I don't do that anymore because, you know, it's kind of like I know what goes on, right? Right. But I'm not saying like, oh, you shouldn't buy this or you shouldn't like ever shop at Zara. Like it's about balancing, right? Like it's about knowing and kind of like making mindful choices in your daily life. And I think to everybody that looks different, it can be like, I'm gonna first, you know, kind of replace my straws and have reusable straws or whatever that is. But I think together, if we make those collective decisions, they make a bigger impact.
They do.
And so I feel like with Web3, it's, you know, the educational aspect that is very like important in Web3 and prominent too. So having like a Discord and a platform to be able to educate and share these things. We have like a sustainability channel, you know, and like people can share their outfits and tips, and like just having these conversations, I think is really what's going to, change the direction in the future. Because as much as there are a lot more like sustainable brands, and like it is a bit of a trend in the last few years, right? Like the sustainability or like the keyword, a lot of people still don't know much about it, right? So it's important to kind of have those day-to-day conversations, I think, and like Discord is really awesome for that. And so to me, I think for me, I call myself a sustainable fashion entrepreneur, and it's just,
I love that.
It's not a perfect journey. It's like a journey of self-discovery and learning, okay, how can I do better? How can I make something sustainable for the people that are also involved in all of this, you know, like the garment makers, the customers, the whole team behind everyone, and also the people that are interested to be involved. Like, how can we come together? So I guess Tials.world is something that's really like a passion project of mine. And now that it's almost surreal because
it's an empire. I think like, you know, merging your brand, your Web 2 to Web 3 brand, and that's for me too. We're building an empire, and it's intentional as well. And Violet Summer Zine, the last issue that we had was on crypto and urban sustainability, and that dropped June 2021. And I didn't really, to me, I wanted to learn more about being sustainable, like to your point. And so I looked to, you know, Jenny Back Meals, and this is one of my friends that like takes veganism and like sustain, like her food choices are so serious. She you know, goes to the farmers markets, and like I said, I took one subject and I was like, tell me about composting. Because living in a city, you know, especially in New York City, you have a lot of trash. So I feel like composting and being really intentional about the things that you bring into your house not only cuts down on like waste, but like we don't have garbage disposals in New York. So, and there's a lot of rodents and stuff. So that really would help with some of the agricultural and, you know, issues in New York City. And when I was thinking that, I'm like, I need to repost some of these articles that my Web3 audience or people in general have not read yet, because there's still amazing topics that are yet to be like scratched the surface. So the fact that you're like bringing it into the forefront with technology and blockchain in general is amazing. And I think like your audience and your customer base is only going to grow, because like people are really, really like realizing like we have until 2030 to like get our shit together. Like that's like the 2030. I don't know if like the climate change, like we really do. Like in Miami, like we had like or South Florida, we had the hurricane, and the tidal wave, like literally it was just a tidal wave on South Beach, and it came out of nowhere. So like that, all these things are going to really, really affect our culture, and fashion is one of them. And even if Ethereum, we just moved to the merge and now we're 97% composable. That's great. Now what other industry can we affect with that? So, and I think the NFT space is just one of those industries when we're intentional with our storytelling. I think it's really gonna reach and mass adoption. So yeah, I mean, just in general, how are you feeling about this upcoming mint? Because we are in a bear market, and I know that you have 222 mints, 2022 mints. So how are you feeling? It's a bear market. Like, are you excited?
Yeah. I think it's mixed emotions. Definitely excited. I think, you know, when we started, the market was kind of going down, but nobody expected this. Yeah. So it was like, well, you know what? We're going to continue building. I'm having fun. Like, you know, I love what I do. I'm just going to put all my heart and soul into it. Let's see what happens. And thankfully, you know, I have my Web2 to back me up. So knock on wood, if things go south, like it's okay in that sense. Well, it's not okay, but you know, it's not like Web3 was kind of what is my lifeline. But so I think with that, it just gave me the creativity and just the determination every day to just keep going. Yeah. And for me, I like that Warren Buffett quote, like, be greedy when others are fearful and be fearful when others are greedy. So for me, this is the right time to build. There's less noise. The people that are in are really the people that are going to be in. And it's very interesting to see the changes. I mean, I got my first NFT in August last year, so it feels like it's been forever, but there's been so many little bear markets like in between. Like in October last year, you know, things were picking up in August, and then it just like crashed. I don't know if you remember that, like, and then it picks up again, but now it seems like, okay, it's kind of prolonged and the whole thing, right? But you know, for us, we've seen the community get really excited. So I don't know, I have good good vibes, good like positive energy towards the mint. Of course, we don't know. I would love to have a crystal ball and know, but I'm just doing lots of manifestation, affirmation, and just knowing that our NFTs, like, it's packed with so much value. And right now, like, I remember last year, it was minting an NFT was so much. Like, it was like, now you're getting
$70 for gas fees. Like,
exactly. Like, it was insane. Like, or like you'd mint and then it failed and then you're minting again, and like it was gas war. Actually, right now it's like the perfect time to get into the space. You know, there's so many good projects that are like on a discount. So for me,
for us, it's like, this is a discount. This is great.
It's like, oh, cool. Like, this is a year, well, you know, end of year sale. So yeah, for me every day, like going into the Discord, seeing how excited people are, I think, of course, we want to mint out, but we're just so grateful for, you know, this whole journey so far, and just like having the Web3 community, you know, welcome us with open arms. I think that has been really cool, because I feel, well, you know, the fashion industry is quite gated,
Mm-hmm.
and exclusive. And so going into Web3, it's just so refreshing. And we just had so much awesome support, organic support, like from the Vogue business, and the Hype Moon. I just feel like when you're in alignment, things happen and things flow easily. So I really feel like I'm in my element, and, you know, hopefully things are going to go as planned during Mint, but if not, we have so many cool things to look forward.